But there's time for it now. The Yone is obviously gone, so maybe lower priority to get pigs for BDD. We'd expect the Jhin to come through in this rotation, or at least before the second phase of bans. But immediately, Leona coming out, and then Ivan. Interesting. Definitely different from the priorities we've typically seen from this team. Obviously, one in barrel to have that pick with confidence. We've seen the Poppy often picked into Leona, though. I wonder if T1 bring that out.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get more protection, you could look at the Poppy. They're hovering Xin Zhao, which I don't think we're going to see. The Ivern has been a go-to for Pyosik all season long, ever since he returned to the Rift in the meta. Sejuani just going to be the pick, though, for Owner, which has been the go-to comfort pick for him.
And it is the blind Camille to come through here. Obviously, Sejuani and Camille as a duo, a lot of power there. And it basically forces KT to say, do we pick Jax here? Or is it going to get banned away? I feel like that's the one pick that isn't going to make it through to the next rotation. And with the Ivern and the Leona already locked in, I think you can go for it. Perfect. Considering it here. And Counter-Strike value into Sejuani is always going to feel...
It does mean the Jhin is open. But maybe want to go in a different direction. We'll see. We have obviously seen the Jhin into Ziggs like really often, really popular. There is still obviously the option of the MF available as well, which we've seen a decent amount, although into a Camille, Sejuani might be difficult ever really to channel the ult. The Corki comes in, 10 loss streak for this pick so far, but BDD decides he wants to try and break that. And then this side, looking at Talia, obviously something that with the Camille setup, great follow-up onto that.
This makes me think that they're looking towards maybe an AP carry for Deft here. Like something a little bit crazy, even with the Seraphine ban and the Ziggs already picked up. Because if you don't desperately need 80 damage, like Tristan obviously already got taken away. The Ivern combined with the Corkis is still solid. Corki is a very solid carry in the mid lane, as we've seen. Is that going to be enough? It looks like instead a Sivir. We saw Goma pull out as well. And this time it is going to be Deft trying to bring it in here.
It just once again feels
not like Jhin anymore?
It just once again feels like a low-value bot game. I think maybe the thought process was they expected KT to take MF or Jhin, and they're like, well, we can just bottle to block the ult. But KT don't take the bait. They go for the Sivir instead. Bottle, very low value against the Sivir who can spell shield it. And now you're in a situation where you have the dire threats of your composition, but bot doesn't really facilitate that so well. When you could have
comes out again as an answer into Ziggs. We'll see if that works as well as we out of the Rift for game number 3.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right. Well, both fan bases, Chronicler, you didn't want to say it before, but it does feel like desperation, you know, especially because both teams now have gotten a taste of how their team wins and in what manner, and they want more. They are greedy for that world spot. Understandably, they would like their team to go and participate in the World's Championship of 2024.
It's not just that, but it's the fact that this might be the last we see of either roster, right? Deft, we've been teasing about the last, final, real, actual, this time, actual last dance.
Presumably still hasn't been seen, so maybe Guma gets punished here.
Oh, okay. Nice little force flash from Keria, BDD already pretty low as the pressure was already on. We saw some slows into rocks being thrown into BDD at level 1, and just the follow-up on that coming out here.
We do see pings on barrels, so Guma is very aware that there's a Leona waiting in that rush.
Rough. Even a 2-time world champion can fumble that, so, you know.
With a skin for this exact champion is not a lot of mana here, and Perfect does have a cookie.
Perfect's going to go back in with the Ivern Q, and now taking a bunch of damage as the freeze will come down. That permafrost. But Pyosik's still making his presence felt. He's got double buff, and he's just kind of autoing him down, throwing in some Qs. And yeah, I mean, there is definitely potential setup, especially with all these brushes. Zeus and Owner, they're really desperate to push in that wave, and they will be successful.
Yeah, I think just Perfect's a bit too low, and there are too many minions, so you can go in with the counter-strike, but you ain't going to, like, one-shot Zeus Owner, and then the minions
still have flash
just,
as well.
Yeah, they would just mangle you, so I think...
Now he's the one in the driver's seat with the help of Keria.
Those are the components where you really think about every CS you missed, and you're like, if I just hit that CS...
Yeah. Isn't it just like 180 on top of that to finish it? I forget what the combined cost.
I can't remember the exact amount, but it's not much at all.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to set up here for the grubs. And KT ROLSTER with the Ivern are utilizing that zone control very well. But in goes Barrel. He says, enough of the zone control. I'm just going to put my face in it. And he does do that, and he's probably dead as the knockup comes in. He gets a shield, though. Stays alive for a very long period of time, but eventually does go down. First blood goes to FAKER. And all going to be thrown out here by Guma, who is level 6, as T1 will look to push them away and take the other 2 grubs.
That's what we were missing from Barrel, you know, just the aggressive...
We knew it was on the way.
It was definitely coming, and hard for the Leona really to find an angle into the Talia specifically. FAKER doing so much damage in that extended play. And unfortunately, KT just not really able to follow up with Barrel.
Desperately need his Guma. Does have his flash, low on mana, and doesn't have his satchel.
Yeah, he just used it for poke. Here comes Deft, trying to come in, gets the Q down. Guma will flash away, some mines on the ground, but 1 Q could do it, or just an auto, as Deft is just going to take him down, and Guma does get punished.
There's your lesson. Don't satchel. He will just constantly pump out damage at every situation. But I think sometimes teams have lent on the Corki as being like a DPS threat, and he really doesn't pump out the numbers as much as something like a Sivir or a Tristana, or even a lot of your traditional AD carries.
Owner taking the portal. Want to highlight. Perfect. In the carry versus carry matchup.
And your Jax as well in that Supreme late game. Definitely going to want that with some side lane threats. As here we go. Going to try to come in here. The knockout comes in. There's that TP you guys are talking about. And now FAKER in a really rough spot. He's going to get Bard ulted, but there's really nobody to save him as Barrel takes a bit of damage, but will survive with the help of the Ivern. And this is the exact fight we were talking about for a minute.
I think it was the blast cone that ended up knocking him into multiple members of KT there.
We'll have to identify who hit it. That's always a fun bit in the replays like that. But yeah, and the bottle comes through, but it doesn't really help FAKER's situation. And now Perfect doesn't even need a TP bot. Just walks down, not even a single plate lost to Zaya. So KT getting the better of that. They had kind of done the homework, done the setup, done the lane assignments, and get the kill and the grubs, and don't really lose anything for it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if they really should have gone for that one. Zeus doesn't have TP, and he's, you know, pretty obviously looking to go bot and looking to put pressure on, but maybe he just wanted to poke, and it was a bit of a mistake. I really want to see the way that the fight kind of opened up, especially with that blast cone as well.
Yeah, that was the big thing. It's just the TP advantage. Zeus was matching Deft, as you point out. Barrel, they will know this is really diveable. A lot of sums still available, but Leona has so much CC. Perfect as Counter-Strike as well.
Yeah, the dive a little bit unsure of themselves,
yeah,
so they're just back away.
Camille Sejuani.
Barrel, which he's Barrel, so he will.
It does happen a lot.
Yeah. I think also, you know, the durability from Leona's W Aftershock really amplifying the shields from Ivan. You know, we see Leona being one of these supports who feels so tanky in the front line, but it's emphasized so much more.
Oh.
Kind of expected with those 2 early dragons being sort of lower value ones, so you get a high value soul, but it being Hextech as well with...
relatively early on. As we're looking for the Rift Heralds here, there is vision. Bunch of pings coming in. And especially with the Hex Gates, potential for KT to try to come over and contest it, but it doesn't look like they will.
I don't think they should. Right now, still have 2 unfinished Triforces on the team. I think so much of the power of both the Jax and the Corki is going to come from actually getting that. Harold is just going to get taken here. Not too surprising. Perfect, again, struggling, I think, pretty consistently in terms of CSing in this series, but...
We get Zeus freezing the wave in return. So now, you know, Perfect perhaps go down and break the freeze, but he's missing out.
Looks like they knew he was in the brush as they had this ward here. This is going to force the flash out of BDD. Kind of awkward for him, as now there is definitely a lot of pressure with Sejuani, Camille, Talia, even a Bard setup, that they might be able to catch out BDD in a future play.
He wouldn't even step to the turret, so this should just go down. We see on the other side, KT trying to counteract that. I think Pioshik maybe just down here to crash the wave, but they're going to go for the dive if they can find an angle.
Yeah, this is, with Carrier here, it's just not really going to happen, and KT will call that off as well.
Yeah, Bart and Ziggs both on the way. Both have really easy ways to also influence the dive from a good amount of distance. T1 not even using the Herald, right? Just getting a topside turret. I imagine just saving it for mid and then allowing the Ziggs to saturate down.
Yeah, and again, no flash for BDD, no flash for Pioshik. So let's see how this one does break out. We have the Rift Heralds to be dropped in mid as Guma will sit here, try to clear the waves and pressure that one. Meanwhile, Faker's on the bottom side, has a nice angle for a wall. If a fight does break out, really trying to push in the Rift Heralds. Looks like it will get a charge, but they're not going to take that down just yet. They don't start the Drake at the same time as the charge, as Faker just going to say, well, they're all in mid, so I'm just going to take this bot turret.
Yep, good angle found there. Perfect moving over to cover, but a lot of poke coming down on a KT. They do have a redemption to kind of mitigate all the poke just before the fight. But you can see Deft about half HP already now.
Just waiting for the engage from the side of T1. There it is. They're going to throw it straight into Pioshik. They know he doesn't have it, but he has actually a stopwatch, and he will be going down. That's a kill already on the Deft as Zeus just got in and murdered him, as that is 3 to the side of T1, and they will take it down.
Complete denial of the attempted front to back there from KT by T1. Coming in from multiple different angles, immediately getting on top of one of their most valuable members, Pioshik, who doesn't have the flash from that earlier play. Turn that into a satchel mid, and now T1 starting up Nash, and I don't think there's anything that KT can do against this.
Tick all the boxes for what they need.
The Porky was coming in, they didn't have full vision, but man, I thought he was in a lot of trouble.
Did he not get the blue buff?
He got the blue buff.
Mission successful. Didn't even bin flash for it.
It's telling, though, that like this Dragon is just going to go over to T1. They're going to get the inner.
Yeah.
I don't think KT's going to be in a position to contest.
But KT got the objective bounty.
Yeah, that is very true, Veldas.
Yeah, it's really T1 getting the most value. They won that team fight. They knew they could go Baron immediately. Getting the value from the Baron, taking so much in terms of structures, and then moving over to secure the Dragon after. It is going to slow down the Soul, but it's allowed them to balloon this massive gold lead that really has put them ahead in this one. 6,000 right now between the two teams.
Yeah. Again, it really just comes down to the setup, you know, with the flashes burn, and then really just a perfect team fight around this Dragon area that nets them the Baron, actually, and now the Dragon, and now all the turrets. It really was kind of on a knife's edge in this one. T1 were ahead, and they were getting little advantages, but then really, that was kind of a back-breaking fight.
And just Resolve 3 in general, you're already going to be pretty beefy as the Camille, sitting on the level lead, and then adding a Death Stance into a full AD team. A lot of value.
Carrier doesn't have Magical Journey, actually. He's going to throw an ult in, and he gets a Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Not going to land this time.
Still not sold in the bard value this game. You know, it did burn some flashes, that was nice, but regardless, Carrier managed to dip away from that one. Does have the Warmogs, but I'm not sure he has enough health. I don't think he has enough health yet that he actually gets the passive. But we'll just pick up some of those Ws so he can get some health back. And the team are going to continue the pressure. 15 seconds on the Baron. So basically one wave to try and crash in and get this. And they'll use the wall to do so.
The ult's going to be thrown towards Leona. Beryl just says, okay, I'm going in. And he's dead. Now we're going to have people trying to get close. And that's the issue with the Sivir. He's able to stop some, but he has to get so close to the fire. And T1 so far ahead at this point, and now with both Deft and Beryl gone, looks like T1 are looking to take an even bigger chunk out of this game 3.
Not a lot to be done here. Zeus just able to hook shot with impunity. I say that.
Got the ultimate. I mean, he's just going to use it here on the Jax. He's just frontlining. Even if he went down, this is a good trade. And he's still alive, still getting hook shots in, still getting stunts down. And T1 just biting off even more. Now, they're not going to get the inhibitor turret, which they probably should have gotten instead, but at least they got a couple of kills, I guess.
The thing is, they're so far ahead now, they're going to nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it's the final one. It's before they, you know, send it down.
Maybe some extra ones, like, you know, they already had it covered, and they're like, you know what, just for good measure, you know, in case.
Just in case, you never know, yeah. I mean, it's kind of incredible. You were talking about the items and the fact that they were going to go spend. Both of the AP carries on the side of 2-1 pick up their death caps, and Faker gets a little bonus rod. And he's like, all right, I'm just going full AP. I already have Void Staff. People are dying. And he's a real threat as well. Generally, it's, you know, just the Ziggs and you've got an 80 carry, but actually the amount of burst damage they have is just ridiculous.
There's also just no MR on the side of KT apart from like the Mig treads and the Corki.
Yeah, how could you forget the Merc tread?
Oh, I have to mention
Corki.
it.
Little engage here from Beryl, but at the end of the day, he uses his satchel defensively, and Beryl's dead. And the timing this time with the Bard is fantastic, as Death will actually run away. Keria getting pretty close to the sun, and now it's Zeus who does take that magical journey in and is looking to end this game. I see one a little bit low on the health bars, but there's the knock up, the stun onto Perfect. He's got to flash away. Zeus is not going to let them get away at this point in time. Depth's desperate to try to do something, but he will be taken down, and so will BDD. So those two short-range carries will be taken out of the game, and T1 will look to end it.
And the imminent end, possibly to the last dance, can be felt as this third Nexus is gonna fall. T1 gonna go up to match point. Not a guaranteed win for them. I still think this game, despite the score early on, felt like it was decently back and forth.